No tricks, no gimmicks, no sticks, no stems. I got chores to do. Plant chores, that is. And we need to get straight into it. Hey, welcome to Aroid District. My name is Dave. Today I have a lot of plant chores and I need to get them done today. If I do not, it may become a crucial situation. Next week I'm busy. The week after that I have to do a little bit of traveling. So first up, I made another order with Ecuador, Ecuador. I've been ordering from the Ecuador website because it's been working for me, you know. So I got this Philodendron serpens crossed with varicosum. And I also got an Anthurium Philodendron. So I have a new procedure when the plants arrive from Ecuador. My new procedure is I leave them inside the bag. So I will tear a hole at the bottom of the plastic bag and then I'll put some bottled water inside there to wet the moss. I leave it there for one day and then the very next day I pot it up. That is my new procedure. It really works for me because, you know, I'm able to gently remove the moss very easily and also hydrate the roots. So normally that's good, but with this plant right here in particular, I wet the moss and it's just been sitting in this wet moss for a whole week up until today. So it's very important that I get that I get this potted up today because I don't even think that this moss smells too kosher. I don't know. I don't know if this moss is going bad or not, you know. But check out the plant though. It looks like a varicosum, but it is crossed with that serpens. It got, you know, the Jackson 5 Afro right here. You know that, oh baby, give me one more chance looking ass, you know. Yeah, but this is cool. I'm excited to have this. You know, if it's crossed with varicosum, I want it. And the Philodendron, let's check that one out. This leaf have a little bit of discrepancies right here, but overall it seems to be a very healthy plant. But it has been sitting in this wet moss for a week as well. So let's get to it. All right, so we working with this serpens cross with varicosum first. First thing I want to do is fill this pole. There's two ways to fill the pole. You can actually just start loading moss in from the top of it after you set it inside your pot. But for me, I do like to open it, fill it, and then close it. That way I can kind of like spread the moss how I want to, because it's not only moss that's gonna go inside this pole. I got wood chips and probably bark that I'm also gonna put inside of this pole. So I wanna be able to, you know, almost make it like a burrito. I wanna tailor make it for a plant like this. You know, these varicosum type plants, they're a little bit harder to root into the pole. So I need to make sure that moss is kind of like sticking out to entice those roots to come into this pole, you know? So let's do that. All right, so we can talk a little bit while I do this. Let's talk about Ecuador. I don't know about y'all, but ever since December of last year, every import that I've gotten from Ecuador, they've been coming in pretty good and healthy. And I'm not sure if I'm just lucky, but you guys out there tell me, have your shipments been coming in like, you know, with good healthy roots, you know, being that they're imports, you know? But mine's been coming in pretty good, and I'm happy about that. It's been easier to acclimate the plants being that the roots are pretty well. And it seems like every shipment since my birthday in December, they've been coming in pretty good. So if y'all can see, I made a bed. Well, y'all can't see but I did make a bed of moss first. And then after that, I'm gonna put some wood chips, then bark, and then a little bit more moss. And then I'm gonna close this up. That's how that goes. So these wood chips here, I got this from the reptile section in the pet store. I don't recommend using this stuff for like a potting mix, but for it to go on like a moss pole, I feel like it's okay. And the reason why I say that is because, you know, these thin wood chips, they can break down very quickly. And once they break down, they can start to grow mold or anything if the potting media is too wet. But when it's inside of this moss pole, it's getting a lot of air. So it's like drying out, you know, in between waterings. So it seems to do pretty well in my other moss poles that I put it in. But this is made by ZooMed. It's just reptile floor bedding, and it's made out of just, you know, blended up wood chips. These have like longer pieces, and I actually like using it in the moss pole because these longer pieces kind of they kind of like form together, and it prevents the moss from falling down, and it kind of helps to keep everything inside the moss pole like in place. So this is actually how it looks before I put my last bit of moss on here. Mind you, I pre-moisten the moss because, I mean, you know, you don't want to just be throwing dry, dusty moss into a pole. You know, it's pre-moistened. Then I'll sprinkle the rest on there and close this up. All right, so this is how it looks all put together. And what I'll do is just tease some of the moss out of the holes a little bit, because I want it to be able to touch the stem of that varicosum hybrid, because, you know, they don't put out aerial roots very readily, you know. All right, so these is what the roots is hitting for. I don't really need to show you up close, but we have a set of roots up here, and then there's a node at the bottom that has a set of roots. They don't appear to be active, but the plant still feels a bit healthy. So yeah, that's what we're working with. Got a clear cup, and I got some potting mix. This is a soilless potting mix. You know, we got sphagnum moss, bark, leca, perlite, and it's probably like equal of all of those. But this is what it looks like here. And the whole goal with this is I want it to be able to stay moist, but then also be airy. That's the key to most of these aroids, especially the ones that climb. You know, it definitely has to have that airflow. So let's get it started. Try to fit this into this plastic cup first. All right. Let's see. Oh, it actually stands up on its own already. I'm gonna put a little bit more in here before I stick the plant down in. Chill out, chill out. Yeah, that'll work. Yeah, it's gonna have to go this way. So there we have it all potted. And I want to try to get some Velcro. Measure that. Think about right there. So now that I cut one strip, I'm gonna cut this one strip in half so that I can have two for this pole. All right, so we just turned that one strip into two. I learned that little thrifty hack from Jasmina Lowe. That's the first person I saw do that. So that's pretty dope. So let's tie up one node right here. And the thing is, I'm gonna try to tie it as tight as possible to get that to kiss the moss. And then this last node up here, I definitely want that to be positioned all on the moss. All right, so for the Philodendron, let me tell you now, my favorite mix lately, I'm a little bit stingy with it, but my favorite mix is Pascal mixed with leca. Do half of the Pascal, half leca. When I tell you, it works wonders on just about any of my rare plants. Philodendron, Hoya, Anthurium. I don't give a lot of my plants this because, I don't know, I'm just stingy with it. I feel like my bag of Pascal is gonna run out, so, but for this Philodendron, I'm gonna use it. And let me show you an example of one of my plants that has it. This is the Anthurium Copper Cherry. Has an inflow, and let me show you the mix and what it does. If you see, this is half leca, half Pascal, and the roots just really love this stuff. And being that this Anthurium does grow roots from the top, I do put like a collar of sphagnum moss, but overall, the main mix is the leca Pascal. Like, this stuff is amazing. It's like bulletproof. It's a glass vessel, no drain. All I do is like spray some nutrient solution into here, let it drip down to the bottom, and I just leave it. And I get to leave this alone for, you know, a week, probably a little over a week. And the roots just go crazy because, you know, it's the perfect amount of moisture and airflow, even in this glass container. So that's what that does. See here. So this is all set. This is the hole for me to hook it onto the tree, and boom, good for now. These right here are Anthurium hybrid seedlings sent to me by one of my Instagram friends, Jana. I'm very appreciative that she sent me these hybrid seedlings because on the day that they arrived, I was dealing with some stuff. I had a whole road rage incident, you know, and for those who don't know me, I live in a rough area of Los Angeles. It gets crazy out here. It's nothing new. I'm actually used to it. But it just boggles me how, you know, some people could just drive crazy around here, almost hit you, and if you honk or even look at them, they'll get out their car and approach you. And you know, it's always best to, like, you know, don't engage, don't even leave if you can, all of that good stuff. But my friends and family that know me, they know. If you get out your car and approach me, it's up. But nothing bad happened. And as soon as I pulled back into my driveway and I saw this package, it put me right back into a happy space. So I'm very grateful for plant mail. Very grateful for the plant community because it's a lot more wholesome than environments that I'm used to, you know. But yeah, I want to repot these. It's always best to, you know, when you get a plant in the mail, leave it alone for at least a week before you repot it. But like I've told you before, I may not have the time later, so I want to get these into a potting mix that I'm used to, that I feel more comfortable with. I'm gonna put both of them in this one plastic cup. I don't feel like cutting holes into here, but the reason why I want to just put both of them in here, because I want to conserve space. When these get big and they're ready to be repotted, that's when I'll separate them. But for now, seedlings, I'll put them in this one cup, no drainless. So what I'll do is start off with a little bit of this Pascal leca mix, just because there's no drainage, you know. Mind you, when you do use the Pascal mix with leca, it works well for a regular pot or a drainless. It's good for semi-hydro, good for the non-semi-hydro, you know. I'll just put a little at the bottom, and then after that I'm gonna use my regular soilless mix. Yeah, I'll pot it just a little bit deep, just because as the plant grows, roots come out the top, and I want to get some moss on top of that. If you know what I'm talking about. Yeah, that's all I need to do for this. So as you can see, I left a little bit of room for when this plant grows, I'm able to put moss on top of the adventitious roots. Next, we have this Philodendron melanochrysum. I got an air layering situation going on because look, the plant has reached the top of the pole. But I'm gonna tell you now, I'm not completely happy with this plant. It is very hard to get a perfect melanochrysum, at least for me. You know, some of these leaves have like little copper spots. You know, it's like little copper fungus or something like that. So I'm gonna tell you now, I want to get my top cut. I want to get this top cut that I've air layered. It's been air layering for a while, and I'm gonna chop this plant up. All of the cuttings that have copper fungus on the leaves are going in the trash. And the rest of them I'll actually propagate and, you know, save as a propagation, you know. But another thing that's, you know, I'm not too happy about with this plant is the leaves are not getting bigger, you know. So I'm gonna have to cover all bases. I'm gonna have to cover all bases once I repot this top cut. Like this leaf by now should have had more, you know, pointy lobes, because, you know, when this plant gets mature, the lobes start to sharpen up. But I'm gonna give it a chunky mix, and I'm gonna put more solid, you know, bark pieces in the moss pole. I feel like that has something to do with it, and I'm gonna give it a little bit more light. So if you look at the back of this, I don't know if the glare, this is all moss. It's a little bit too soft, and I know that plants do get bigger when they latch onto something like solid. So I'm gonna get like some good bark pieces in here along with the moss, and maybe that'll do the trick, you know. I'm focused on getting the top cut. When it comes to propagating all of the rest, I'm not gonna show that. I just wanna show just, you know, definitely how I get this top cut. As I told you before, it is air layered. There are a lot of roots in this cup, hopefully. So, with this one, I can see the stem, so I'm gonna just make the cut before I untape it. Let's see here. That's done, and now I can untape this. And let's see what happens. All right, so boom, I got my top cut. It's already rooted up. I think it was a good air layering situation. Let's try and pull it out. Oh yeah, okay. Let's see. You know, I'll be in the zone when I do my little plant chores. A lot of times I don't even film it because I'm just in the zone or whatever, but I guess what, I'll ask y'all a question. What do you all think about the melanochrysum? Tell me about your issues regarding the melanochrysum. So let me show y'all the roots. We got a lot of roots. You know, we got all this. We got all this. So I think it's good to go. And I feel like once I put this up against a pole, these aerial roots here will just quickly go into the pole and we good to go. But this is the top cut, and I'm happy about this one because this leaf is decent. It's I see a little bit of chlorotic in there, and this one is perfect. But you know, like I said, my goal is to get this one to change shape. I know by now this one should have, you know, gotten the sharp lobes on it and, you know, start going into maturity. So we'll see if that happens this go around. So this is the end result for the top cut of the melanochrysum. Still got the new growth. It had decent roots after the air layering. I taped it up against the moss pole pretty good, and it's a good chunky mix within this moss pole, so it'll have, you know, something good to grip into, also get nutrients from, you know, the moss and whatnot. So I think I covered all bases. That's the best I can do with this. We good. So another philodendron that needs some reconciliation is this Philodendron El Choco Red, or Philodendron Rubri Juvenile, as it's officially called now. It doesn't really need any reconciliation, but we just gotta chop this dude down because it's just hovering all over the anthuriums. I have this placed on my anthurium table, and we just need to, you know, chop her down. But I'm a little bit nervous about that, and I'm gonna tell you why. This still is one of my favorite philodendrons. It is still in my top 3, but in the past, El Choco Reds have not been easy to propagate. So I'm hoping that, you know, this plant, being that it has some aerial roots and it is springtime, all is well after I chop it, you know. But check it out though, like this has grown amazingly for me, very easy. Self-watering pot was the key for me. You know, I wasn't doing well with this plant back in 2020, and now look at it. It doesn't even need a boss pole. It's quite strong to be a climber, you know. And the reason why it's still in my top 3, because look at the stem. I don't know no philodendron that quite has a stem like this. The leaves still have a red back, and you got that nice striking velvety you know, front of the leaf. So yeah, let's go ahead and chop this one down. We got one cut. That's a nice leaf. These scissors are kind of big, so it's hard to get up in here, you know? So what I'm gonna do with these cuts, I'm gonna let the wounds dry for about 5 minutes, and then I'll put a little bit of cinnamon on there and let that sit for another 5 minutes, and then put it in water. Oh, that smells good. Like, I'm telling you. It's like it smells like banana peppers. But I'm gonna continue to, you know, chop this down and just leave a stump, and that'll be that. So I was able to get 5 good cuts off of this, and I just plan to, 5 good cuts, and I got a stump, and the stump does have a growing eye on there. I decided to go ahead and just leave all the cuttings in water because, you know, in a week or 2, I'll try and do something else with them. If I want to pot them up, I can do that. But overall, they'll be just fine in this glass of water. So my last chore for today is I want to propagate this anthurium. This is the Anthurium sagittatum. Y'all, this is underrated. This is, you know, it's a cheap price, and it is very easy. This thing grows fast. It had a couple more leaves, but I took them off. This is what I was left with. Grows really quick. I got this one as, I think it was like a little small seedling, and it just grew fast. We're starting to get bigger leaves, big lobes in the middle. But when it comes to propagating Anthurium, this is the perfect time for me to show you how I do it, you know. And the key to propagating Anthuriums is to make a collar. Make a collar, you know, with like either a cup, cut that in half, put it around the stock, fill it with moss. In this case, I just have like some plastic that I wrapped around, put moss in there, and I use a Velcro strap just to hold it together. And what happens is, from the top of this stem, roots will grow like this one here. So when I take this off, I'm able to make a cut and have the top roots connected to it. There's another way. Some anthuriums, like the crystallinum, they actually clump up and they make like these little offshoots. You can actually separate those with your hands and just pot it up. I've done that in the past, but overall, let me show you how it's done when it comes to the anthuriums that grow like this. Anthuriums that grow a very big root system, as you can see in this cup. The most important roots are the roots that are coming out of the top. They are the most important because those are the roots that supports a new leaf. We have 3 of these at the top. That's where I'm gonna make my cut. Let's go ahead. So this right here is the cut. We have 2 leaves and we have these roots to develop. As for the rest of the plant, this is what you're left with, a stump. And I actually see a growing eye right here and potentially a growing eye somewhere else, but I do see one of them. And what I'll do is prune these bottom roots off. Make another cut. Now that I got my top cut, I can be, you know, fairly rough with it. So this here is the top cut of the Anthurium sagittatum. I put it back in the same pot. I just potted it deeper because when new leaves come out, the adventitious roots will be covered by this soilless mix. This is the bottom cut. I trimmed some of the roots and I put that chunk in there. I'm gonna sit this out in the greenhouse and wait for something to pop out. And that's how that goes. But yeah, that's how you propagate anthuriums. It's quite easy. You just wanna make sure you get the top roots and, you know, the bottom chunk, cover it up, put it somewhere humid, and another growing point should come out of it. All right, y'all, that's all I got for today. I'm actually going to an event tomorrow in celebration of Earth Day. They're having this big event where there's going to be like all of these popular plant vendors. There's going to be, you know, vegan food, and it should be a whole little vibe. So hopefully I'll be able to film and get some footage of that, and then I'll incorporate that into whatever the next video that I film. But thank you all for joining me. I had to get all of this done, and happy I got it done. See y'all next time. Aroid District, I'm out.